Commissioner Matthias Kush,
Good morning.
Commissioner Chantel Perrin,
Good morning.
and I'm Chairperson Dennis Lin. We have a quorum to hold this meeting. Introducing from the Office of the Corporation Counsel, Deputy Corporation Counsel Susanna Tiapula, attorney for the Commission, who is here present to advise the Commission.
Aloha.
Deputy Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell, attorney for the Planning Department. And representing the Planning Department is Planning Director Zendo Kern,
Aloha, good morning.
who is present to advise the Commission for items number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 9. And then Deputy Planning Director Jeffrey Darrow will be present to advise the Commission for items number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. Okay, Commissioners, there is additional testimony in your folders. Just want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to look that over. I'll give you a couple minutes. It's just 2 sheets of paper, so it's not too bad. Sorry, we have one more being distributed. All right, Commissioners, please confirm that you've had an opportunity to review the materials related to the applications being reviewed today. Can you just do a verbal aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, some housekeeping items. For all those in attendance today, please turn off or silence your cell phones. Public restrooms are located outside in the middle of the building on the Mackay side. If there is anyone here in person who would like to testify, please fill out the yellow sign-up form at the staff table. Also, if you have any written testimony that has not been sent in earlier, you may submit it now to staff. We'll now move on to the approval of the minutes of April 4th, 2024. That has been circulated. Are there any corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve as circulated?
Motion to approve minutes from last week's meeting or last month's meeting.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Perrin. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Vice Chair Daniele. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, approval of the May 2nd, 2024 continued meeting and the May 6th, 2024 minutes will be continued to the next scheduled meeting for approval. Okay, moving on to the statements from the public on agenda items. As stated in the published agenda, members of the public may provide public testimony regarding any agenda item now or at the time the agenda item is called to order. Testifiers on Zoom, please keep your video camera off and audio muted until you're called by the Zoom host to speak. Please note that this is an in-person meeting and the Zoom platform and YouTube live stream are provided as a courtesy. Therefore, our meeting will proceed even if the Zoom or YouTube connections fail. Before we start to receive public testimony pursuant to Rule 1-5 of the Planning Commission's Rules of Practice and Procedure, I'd like to remind everyone to be courteous and respectful of all testifiers, staff members, and commissioners. Please direct all testimony to me as the chair. Testimony will be limited to 3 minutes per testifier on each agenda item. Okay, at this time, I will take public testimony. So I have one person who would like to testify now at the beginning of the hearing. So if I could have Ken Gibbings, please come up. Good morning. Oh, if you could please use the mic, please. Yeah, we have to put you on record. Push the button with the face on it. There you go. And do you please raise your right hand?
Yeah.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
Sure, yes.
Okay, you can please state your name, the area you reside in,
151092 Alaheo.
and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
So I'm here to tell you that my wife and I started our search for a church in 2019 with our family. And After visiting various different churches, we settled on Pacific Baptist as it was a unique in its worship form and its sticking to the Bible. And after many years of attending there, we're very excited to see the chance of having a building built instead of meeting in the back of the pastor's house. So I'm pro this development and seek your vote of yes. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
testimony. Tracy, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to testify now at the beginning of the hearing?
Good morning. My apologies. Good morning, Chair. We currently have 2 testifiers and both of them would like to testify at the time their agenda item is called.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the agenda with unfinished business. So we have agenda item number 1. Applicants Patty Sather and Stephen Else, PL-SMA-2024-000048. Application for a special management area use permit to construct a 2-story single-family dwelling and related improvements on a 31,363 square foot shoreline parcel within the SMA, within the special management area. The subject property is located at 15-1859 Beach Road at its intersection with Alaheao Road, Hawaiian Paradise Park Subdivision, Kea'au, Puna, Hawaii, TMK 31-5-032, parcel number 49. Okay, staff presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I'm presenting Special Management Area Use Permit Application SMA 2448 for Patty Sather and Stephen Else. See that? This is a location map. So we can see that the property is right at the Mackay end of Hawaiian Paradise Park, just south of Shipman Beach. I marked it by the little red mark there. The applicant is requesting to construct a new 2-story, 2,050 square foot single family residence, includes 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2.5 bathrooms, kitchen, living room, laundry, and related improvements such as a shed, fencing, and gates. They also want to construct a new 2-story detached garage with 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom on the 2nd floor and a 2-car garage on the 1st floor. Potable water will be via a well and pump proposed for the property. Wastewater will be handled via an existing individual wastewater system that was approved by DOH. For previous development that has been that was never really taken on, and there were some structures that have been removed, but the individual wastewater system is still existing and will be functional for the new property, for the new development. Noteworthy is the 5-foot wide shoreline access easement that runs along the property boundary, inside the property boundary, from Alaheao Road to the ocean. So it's Malco Mackay shoreline access. Here's a map of the property outlined in red. You can see the surrounding zoning is agricultural 1 acre for the county, including the subject parcel. State land use is agricultural in this area. And LUPEG shows this as open zoning, which is typical for the shoreline type of properties. And then Malco of the Road is rural zoning for LUPEG. Here's an aerial photograph. This is an old aerial photograph. You can see those structures that were built previously under approved SMA permit have been removed. There's a concrete pad that's remaining, and they're going to utilize that for the development. You can take note that it's right on the corner here of Alaheao Road, and the access for the shoreline will come from Alaheao Road and runs along kind of the north side of the property. I'll have a better map for you. This is kind of showing an aerial photograph of the area, so we can see that it's pretty well developed with a lot of single-family residential structures, some of which are pretty close. The applicant will be well outside of the shoreline setback area. This is a shoreline survey map that was done for the property, which is good. It helps us to site the property's development outside of that shoreline setback area. So this shows some of the old structures that were there that have been removed. Here's a site plan showing the proposed development. We have the main residential structure. It's going to be on the existing pad that's there. The red dashed line is the shoreline setback area. There is a wall that's legally non-conforming. It's been there for some time, so that is going to remain. It does cross the shoreline setback line, but again, it's been on the site for some time, so it's allowed. They will be removing some sections of the wall that interfere with the 5-foot shoreline access, which runs along the bottom of this page here from Alajeo Road, runs right along to the shoreline. Here's a floor plan, just to kind of show the different structures. You got the 2-car garage, the garage residence, and then the main residence. You have a full set of plans, of course, in your report. Shoreline access, so I marked it off in red, so it kind of shows where the public can access from Alajeo Road, right along the property boundary, and then along the shoreline. Lateral shoreline access along here is pretty heavily used with fishing and such, and it's pretty well open. They have no intention of affecting or impacting that in any way. In fact, this provides a really excellent access in this area because access to the shoreline, Malcolm Mackay access, is actually limited. So it's really helpful that that this is going to happen. And then you can see that they're going to fence in. They will maintain that to keep it open. Access, this is the subject property kind of here on the corner. See, it's pretty overgrown. So this is Alajeo Road, Dirt Road, and then Beach Road right along here. So the property again is on the right-hand side. And then this is looking up Alajeo Road. The arrow is kind of pointing to where the driveway and the shoreline access will begin. So at this time, the director is recommending approval with the stated conditions for PL SMA 2024-000048. And I can take questions if you have any.
Thank you, Alex. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I have a question. If you could go back to the driveways. Okay.
Grab the bigger one. There you go. So yeah, access, they have a access drive from Beach Road, and then there's an existing access drive from Alajeo Road.
Okay,
That
so I wanted to ask, where is there supposed to be just access from one road, or are they allowed to have dual access from 2 separate roads?
we provided the information to DPW, and they had no concerns
Okay.
about the dual access. Like I said, this one is well established and heavily used, and then this will be kind of a newer access. But yeah, nobody commented. DPW had no
Nobody
concerns
commented.
with
How's the flow of traffic where that new
This-
driveway will be?
along Beach Road.
Yeah,
Yeah, Beach Road's pretty sparse.
okay.
Every time I've been down there, I was the only one down there.
Okay.
So
I just want
yeah.
to make sure I wasn't gonna offset the flow of traffic.
yeah, and the Beach Road is it just goes north. Let me see if I can. So Beach Road, I know it's kind of hard to see, kind of goes up along here and just ends.
Got it.
So
Okay.
most of the main access would be along these kind of Malcolm Mackay. The heavier traffic would be along in that area, but right along here, it's you're either going to here or to there, and that's about it. So there
Got
was
it.
very little traffic both times it was down.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kush, you had a question?
Chair, yeah, Alex, just to confirm what I read, their shoreline setback is under the new 40-foot setback.
Exactly. Yep. And they got the shoreline certification to ensure that that was adhered to.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Okay, if not, thank you, Alex, and we'll bring up the applicant or the applicant's representative. Good morning. If you could please press the mic there. There you go.
How about that?
Could you
Is that
please
better?
raise your right hand? You swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter, not before the Windward Planning Commission.
I do.
Okay. Please state your name, the area you reside in, and who you represent, and you may go. You start.
Thank you. My name is Michael Huffman. I'm with HCLT Architects. We're the architects on the project. I represent Steve Else and Patty Sather, our clients. I live in Kona. I want to thank the commission and board members today for being here and your volunteer service. Appreciate that. Just a couple of quick comments to clarify. There was an addendum that I believe was distributed that did slightly increase some square footages. Our approximate square footage is 2,310 interior, about 7,100 square feet for the total development of the site, including driveways. Total bathrooms is really actually about 5 bathrooms, 3 full bathrooms, 1 for each bedroom, and then powder room, and as well 1 in the garage. The drawings, my apologies, show lanai, Mackay on the 2-story structure, and the floor plans illuminated that lanai, and thus the increase in square footage. The elevations didn't get updated properly, so my apologies for that. It looks very similar. However, the entire 2-story structure is fully enclosed. There's no second floor open lanai, Mackay. I think overall the project is, as we're getting into permit drawings and engineering, within about 1 foot or 2 of the maximum height that we show on the drawings. So I would ask that that height be referenced as approximate. It's certainly going to be a 2-story structure, approximately 4 feet above grade for the first floor, and approximately 9 foot first floor to floor height. First floor ceiling height, rather. That's all I have to say, other than thank you. And are there any other questions I can answer?
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant's representative?
So you're here representing Patty and Steven.
Yes.
Where are they?
They are in Seattle.
So will this residence be their primary residence?
This will be their residence, and I cannot tell you whether they intend to be here more than 6 months or not.
Okay. When do you anticipate this project to be completed?
I would approximate 2 years.
2 years.
We
Okay, so
expect-
they wouldn't be moving to the islands anytime soon.
Not that soon. It's going to take a little while.
Got you.
Maybe 1.5 years if we can get through permit quickly.
All right, so this is a second home purchase for them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoffman, I forgot to ask you, do you agree with the recommendations and the proposed conditions within this?
I do as well, and the conditions as well, and
Okay.
the homeowners agree to those conditions
Okay.
as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, if not, is there a motion for action on this agenda item?
I move to approve application for SMA use permit docket number PL-SMA-2024-4048 be approved based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Sorry, Commissioner Kush, I do have to, I forgot one thing. Was there any public testimony on this item? No, okay. Sorry, you go back to your motion.
I apologize. Would you like me to repeat that?
I think we're good. Yeah, okay, so is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Kush and seconded by Commissioner Baylog. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylong,
Aye.
Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. You'll be notified in writing of the commission's decision.
Thank you, commissioners and staff.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 2. Applicant is Punale Mackay Living Trust, PL-SMA-2024-000055 4, along with amendment PL-SMA-2023-000026, application to amend special management area use permit numbered PL-SMA 2023-000026 to increase the size of the single-family dwelling, to change the style of roof, and to construct a rock wall and gates on a 9.513 acre shoreline parcel within the special management area. The subject parcel is located at 36-2676 Old Mamalahoa Highway, approximately 1,000 feet south of Stevens Road, Hawaii Belt Road, intersection on the east Makai side of the highway, Waipunalei Homesteads, and a portion of Kahoahuna Homesteads, North Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 33-6-005, parcel number 2. Okay, staff presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to present an amendment to a previously approved SMA permit application. This is the amendment number is SMA 2024-000054. The red star shows the location. We can see that it's kind of north of Lapuhohoi Beach Park, right along the shoreline, about approximately 10-acre parcel. It's accessed via kind of a subordinate road to Hawaii Belt Road. The amended SMA use permit. Now the SMA, the original one included the demolition of an existing single-family residence, construction of 1 2-story single-family residence, the construction of 1 first farm dwelling, garage, and related improvements. So the amended project includes the following components. The single-family residence has increased in size about 632 square feet in the interior and about 350 square feet for accessory. The single-family residence has changed from 4 to 5 bedrooms, so they added a bedroom. The roof has been redesigned as a hip roof, with the roof construction to be wood framed with metal roofing. And then the additional work includes the construction of a 5-foot tall rock wall and gates. So the amendment was to increase the size of the structure, add the bedroom, change the roof, and then add a rock wall and gates along the property boundary, the road and property boundary. There will be no change to the farm dwelling or any other individual wastewater or things like that. So here's the parcel zoning. You can see that it's A20A. There's a remnant of A5A just to the north, but the majority of the area is in agricultural, 20 acres. State land use. We do see that there's a small sliver of conservation, but that's pretty much has eroded away. So the majority of the area is ag, except for a small section of urban, state land use urban zoning south of the project area. LUPAG shows this as all pretty much primarily intensive ag lands or important ag lands, and then the coastal open zoning that's common to these types of areas. Here's an aerial photograph. You can see that the property is pretty much primarily open and clear, grassy, with sweeping views to the ocean. There's tree stands on both property boundaries and along the roadside. There's very limited clearing that's going to happen because the structures will be able to be sited right in the middle of the grass area. So here's another shot. I included this to kind of show you how steep the cliff is in this area. Again, typical for Hamakua. So this became a shoreline parcel due to the inability to access that shoreline area. You can see that there's residential development on the Malka side of Mamaloa Highway, and then there's a farm and residential development next door. That structure you see up on the top corner, that's the one that's going to be demolished to make way for the new development. So here's location of the proposed amendments. The home, the main structure, main dwelling, that's where we're going to see the roof changes, the additional bedroom square footage, and then again along that roadside will be the new rock wall and gates, a gate here gate here. Again, the additional farm dwelling garage, they will not be changed from the original approval. And then again, as reference, I just throw the 40 shoreline setback, but they're going to be well outside of that. So there's no impact there. Here's a site plan of the first dwelling. Just kind of the cross section to show you the elevations, the design. Full sets of plans, of course, are in your packet. And then same dwelling one. Here's a site photo I took visiting the property. You can see it's pretty well open. There's some minor fencing and things like that. And then the structure would be off to my right on this photo, but this is looking towards the ocean. Here's that existing dwelling to be demolished. And then the existing shed also to be demolished. That's the house you can't see, but it's right on the other side of that. Sorry for the state county vehicle. This is the entrance from Mamaloa Highway, the Highway 19, looking north, and then the entrance to Old Mamaloa Highway on the right. So they'd pull in and then take a quick right to that feeder road. And then this is that feeder road. So this is the road right in front of the property here. So you can see the shed. Approximate driveway location, that second driveway, the first one would be kind of off to the right here, just for reference. And then I threw in, this is kind of where the wall will be going right along the property boundary here, and then the other gate over here, that second gate. So there'll be two entrances, two gates, and then the rock wall right along there. At this time, the director is recommending approval to amend PL SMA 2023-000026 under SMA 2024-000054. I can take questions.
Thank you, Alex. Remind me, the applicants, were they the ones that were gonna plant the trees in the back by the shoreline area?
Not that I recall, no.
No, not this
Yeah,
one, okay.
different one, sorry. I know there's lots.
I know. I'm just trying to remember.
Been a very SMA heavy spring.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think that was in public hope,
That was probably, that's right. Okay.
because I think that was a question was, Alex, was the original SMA 2023-000026 was approved.
Yeah.
But yes,
Was
yeah,
approved,
yeah,
so-
and they came in because under our rules, when you go to change any significant changes to an SMA, we kind of require an amendment. So the addition of the new room, the change of the roof, the new wall, the new gates, we felt that required the amendment. So that's really only changes. So yes, you guys have approved this essentially already before. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for staff? If not, if we could ask the applicant or their representative, please come forward. Could you please raise your right hand? Oh. You swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission.
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and you may begin.
Val Coulter and I live in Kalapana area.
Thank you.
So this amendment is just, basically, it's been described. They just made the house a little bit bigger. It almost was 5 bedrooms before, but one of the rooms was designated as a library because it didn't actually have a door closing it off. So there's not that much change. It did get a little bit bigger. They changed the style of it mostly, and didn't change the location. Questions?
Any questions? Okay, if not, is there any? Oh yeah, sorry. Do you agree with the recommendations and the proposed conditions as?
Oh, absolutely.
And then is there any public testimony on this item via Zoom or in person?
Yes, Chair. I have one testifier that is here via Zoom, Geetha Vallabh Hanini.
Okay,
Aloha, I'm here with my husband, Aaron Culleney. We are the applicants here. We just wanted to, it was a busy work day for us, but we are in Lapa Hoi Hoi right now, working from home. So thank you for your time and consideration today.
okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else want to testify? Or anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, if not. No, that's all, yeah. Okay. If not, is there a motion for action on this agenda item?
I move that the application for special management area use permit docket number PL SMA 2024 000045 be approved and PL SMA 2023 000026 be amended based on the planning director's recommendations, which shall be adopted.
I'll second that.
Correction, yeah, it's. Five, yeah, 5-4, yeah, application 000054, okay. Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Daniele or Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second on the motion?
I second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Perrin. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, if not, no discussion, roll call vote.
Commissioner Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
Commissioner Belo,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Thank you.
so much for-
Thank you. Okay, if you guys don't mind, we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into agenda item number 3. So we'll be back at 9:40. Thank you. We're just waiting for one more commissioner. Okay, I'm gonna call the Windward Planning Commission back to order. I'm gonna resume with agenda item number 3. Initiator is County Council, application PL-CCI-2024 oh, sorry, is the recording back on? I wasn't sure. Okay. 00006, Bill 127, an ordinance amending Chapter 25 zoning, Article 2, Division 4 of the Hawaii County Code 1983, 2016 edition as amended. Related to conditions and change of zone, establishes a requirement for the planning director to specify a time by which performance conditions must be complete in a recommendation for a change of zone. Okay, so if we could go with the staff presentation, Christian.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to the members of the Windward Planning Commission. It's nice to see your faces. If you give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, as the chair stated, this is a county council initiated bill to amend the zoning code. So Hawaii County Code Section 25-244, Conditions on Change of Zone, authorizes the council to impose conditions on an applicant's use of a property if the council feels they are necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare, mitigate adverse effects of the proposed use, and/or address the need for public service demands created by the proposed use. Bill 127 seeks to add the following language to this section. Within any ordinance for a change of zone that includes any such conditions, the director shall specify the time by which all conditions shall be completed. According to the bill's introducer, Bill 127 mandates that the planning director specify a time frame for the completion of all conditions of approval in each change of zone ordinance. Since the council's approval of Bill 194, in 2023, the Planning Commission and County Council have received change of zone applications from the Planning Department with proposed draft conditions that do not contain a time frame in which all conditions must be met. Bill 127 will ensure that all change of zone applications are processed fairly and set to a specific timeline for timely completion. It will also allow for confidence in the land use patterns across Hawaii Island. Just for reference, Bill 194 amended the zoning code to prohibit the planning director from including administrative time extension conditions to change of zone applicant recommendations. So since 1980, the planning directors have recommended the addition of conditions to change of zone ordinances that included a timing element, for example, time to secure plan approval or final subdivision approval, or time to commence and complete phases of development, or time to complete construction. These were usually 5-year timeframes with the possibility of up to an additional 5 years with an administrative time extension. Over the last year or so, the planning director has been excluding timing conditions if the rezone is consistent with the general plan and community development plan for that area. Instead, he has been recommending performance conditions which require an applicant to complete certain tasks to ensure adequate infrastructure and mitigate impacts caused by a proposed use prior to issuing final subdivision approval, final plan approval, certificate of occupancy, etc. These performance conditions require an applicant to meet all other code requirements before final approvals, while providing flexibility to develop a project when favorable conditions allow, rather than within a specific time frame. This practice is similar with some other municipalities who consider how a rezone request complements the overall land use pattern, consistency with long-range plans, and availability of infrastructure. The planning director believes that if the proposed zoning change meets the preceding requirements, including the provision of adequate performance conditions, and would result in an appropriate land use pattern that would further benefit the general public, then there is no need for timed conditions. This approach can help alleviate unanticipated impediments to development of a project, for example, economic downturn, natural disasters, extended agency review periods, etc. Finally, the planning director believes that this approach satisfies the zoning code requirements for adding conditions of approval for a change of zone outlined in the section that I read in the first slide. So for those reasons, the director is recommending that the planning commission send an unfavorable recommendation of Bill 127 to the county council as currently written. Despite the unfavorable recommendation, however, the planning director is interested in working with the county council to address their concerns and strengthen or clarify performance conditions, including conditions ensuring water availability, wastewater provision, and traffic mitigation through roadway design and improvements. However, should the council wish to require time conditions, the planning director would like to reevaluate the idea of tolling condition timeframes while subsequent development steps are under government review. For example, archaeological review under the State Historic Preservation Division. So tolling is a situation where basically the clock stops while under government review. So if it is a 5-year time frame, that the government review time would not be counted toward that 5 years. The planning director can work with state and county agencies and industry professionals to craft a general development timeframe matrix that anticipates how long each step of the development process should take. This can help inform applicants on how to best craft their anticipated development timeline and right-size their application requests for proposed projects. This could also be an informative tool to help the public understand the development process steps and anticipated timeframes. Bill 127, as currently written, requires time conditions in all situations. However, for the following cases, time conditions are not appropriate. The first is a rezone where development of the property is not the intent. For example, rezoning a property to open for open space, scenic, historic, cultural, resource protection, recreational use, etc. Where a property has split zoning and an applicant is seeking to align one portion of the property with the zoning of the remainder of the property. Should the planning director be compelled to add a timed condition to the zoning ordinance, it would only apply to a portion of the property and not the entire property. When the planning director or county council initiate a zoning reversion to the original zoning designation, the planning director usually recommends removal of all conditions, so a time condition would not be appropriate. If the council decides they want to move forward and codify this bill, they should consider a provision in Bill 127 to exempt time condition requirements in these or similar situations. So next steps for this bill, the planning commissions are required to take action on Bill 127 by transmitting their recommendations to the council by June 19th, 2024. The commission may recommend approval of all, some, or none of the director's suggestions. The commission may also recommend their own revisions to the bill. The Windward and Leeward Planning Commission's recommendations will be forwarded separately, but at the same time to the county council for their consideration and decision. In the event the commission fails to act on the proposed bill by the state, such inaction shall be considered as an unfavorable recommendation by the commission. With that, I'm happy to answer questions as appropriate and turn the time back over to the chair.
Thank you, Christian. At this time, we'll ask Councilmember Inaba to also do his presentation introducing the legislation and the intent behind it, and then we'll take questions after that.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Chair
Councilman.
Lynn, Vice Chair Daniele, members of the Windward Planning Commission. My name is Holeka Inaba, and I do swear to tell the truth before the Windward Planning Commission this morning. Thank you for the opportunity to share the intention and the reason this bill is before you folks for your recommendation today. Ultimately, it's a pretty simple sentence saying that within any ordinance for change of zone that includes any such conditions, the director shall specify the time by which all conditions shall be complete. As we know, conditions are included in change of zone ordinances to mitigate any impact or to make sure that it's very clear that we're following the law, whether it be connection to county sewer, connections to roadways, making sure they're in line with code. Those are the types of conditions. I want to be clear, however, that this bill is not requiring all change of zone ordinances to be passed with a specific time frame. It's a directive to the planning director that he or she includes that language, because we've received bills through the commission, through the at council, where we've spent a lot of time adding in a time frame and almost taking, I would say, maybe not a best approach. We're not planners by trade. I don't think anybody on this current council, but we wanted to include time frame, and we come up with timeframes at the council portion of the process. So we're wanting that time frame included before it even gets to you folks, and that would be a time frame established by the director who has the most experience and expertise in determining the time in which all of the conditions would likely need to be completed. Why the need for it? We could definitely pass legislation, these types of ordinances with static conditions if everything around the subject parcel is guaranteed to stay how it is forever. But if we grant everyone these different change of zones and there is no time frame in which certain improvements need to be made, we could be down the road, 20 years from now, where everybody has the ability to build, but nobody has any kuleana as to road improvements. And we essentially have these types of conditions that might be out of date by the time people actually go to start building. So we put a time frame on and say we give someone 10 years to get something done. If they don't do it and they don't secure a time extension from the council, then the process starts all over again. And it's an opportunity for the planning commissions and the council to review what's gone on in those 10 years and to see if any updated conditions need to be imposed. And again, that would be the result of the applicant's inaction to meet and complete the conditions of the original change of zone. So I want to be very clear. The director and the department have provided some of those conditions at the end. I think there are 4 of them that I think are very strong points that help us to have responsible land use. The Leeward Planning Commission gave their a favorable recommendation, kind of in line with those recommendations, that we do have and need strengthened standard performance conditions. We do need to talk about and figure out if tolling is an option. And I'll state on the record now, I think tolling is a difficult concept, because if we set a date in a change of zone ordinance, but there's a clock stopping and starting outside the scope of this ordinance, it gets hard to track who had what for how long. So we do have a process already in code that allows for extensions. If, let's say, let's not pick on any specific government agency, but if a government agency had your application for 3 out of the 5 years you were allowed, that's definitely reason. Those are circumstances outside your control, and those are circumstances where the council would likely grant an extension because because your delay or your lack of completing your conditions was outside of your control. And then there was discussion about reverting back to the original type of zoning that you had before. So that's kind of also lever that we can consider that would really encourage folks to get things done in the time frame in which they represented before you folks and before the council. But ultimately, what this bill is asking is for the planning director to make a fair and experience-based decision and providing a time frame in which all conditions should be complete. And again, that will help ensure safety and the timely implementation of the conditions of approval that you folks and the council include in these change of zone ordinances if they pass. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I do ask for your favorable recommendation to the council. And again, that could be with conditions similar to what the Leeward Planning Commission did in their meeting. Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember Inaba. Any questions for either staff or council member? Commissioner Kush?
Councilmember Inaba, I had a question. Do you have any or are you able to provide any specific circumstances that kind of brought this to the forefront? Because I can see both sides, but I also know as a very small time affordable rental developer that time can just disappear. And maybe for DR Horton or Schuler or, these big developments I know that happen in West Hawaii, they have the staff to just keep. But for smaller guys like me, our local residents, people who are doing stuff, it's like a part-time job that you're constantly calling and following up. And it's kind of staggering how much time you can spend doing pretty relatively what would seem straightforward. So I can't imagine doing something more complex like a subdivision. And so that's why I asked if you have specific examples that have harmed the welfare or the safety of the community.
Sure. I mean, there's some projects going on right now in the Waikoloa area where they were grandfather type zoning that have the ability to create a lot of use and more traffic. But because those parcels are so old and their zoning included no conditions, there's nothing we can do right now to require. And we don't want to see that for people who do come through this process and they don't have a time frame in which their conditions need to be completed. So understanding, yeah, there might be a difference between smaller folks and these huge developments that we're seeing. In my opinion, however, there should be a neutral across the board approach, and that across the board approach allows for time extensions if things happen that are outside your control. So if there was no extension process, different situation. But when there is a public fair extension process for everyone, big or small, I believe that what this bill is asking us to do is not unreasonable. It's really in the interest of the community to see that our infrastructure and any required conditions are getting done in a timely manner, and people are following through with the representations that they make before you folks and before the council. If they don't intend to make use of these new permitted uses or to complete the conditions that they're agreeing to, then they shouldn't be coming through the commission and the council. Essentially, what they would be doing is getting a higher land use, and their land is worth more at that point for selling. So ultimately, yeah, it's really about you ask for something, we can support it. You do this in this time, you're good to go.
Thank you. I have a question for Dr. Kern. Does an applicant have to have their final plan approval before getting their building permit?
Yes.
So they would have to meet all their conditions before they can even get their building permit, which the building permit aspect would then be, depending on what the current time frame for a building permit is right now.
Yeah, so it also depends on the nature of the application. So in certain cases, if it's a multifamily or commercial, then plan approval would be the step that they have to go through prior to getting their building permit. If it's a residential subdivision, then they would have to go through the subdivision process and get final subdivision approval and all those individual TMKs established, and then they can start a building permit process on its own.
Okay. So aside from DPW, as we would need to have the applicant fulfill all those conditions within the recommendation or the planning commission's approval before they can get their building permit started. So I'm just trying to think, what divisions within government right now that those conditions would cover. Say you're changing from ag to residential or residential to commercial, what aspects are we looking at? Which Councilmember Inaba, you mentioned is, the health and safety of the community and whatnot. So that covers water, wastewater, Department of Health approval if you have any septic or any type of sewage.
Yeah, depending on the nature of the project, could be DOH ultimately for wastewater, but it could be Department of Environmental Management as well. If you're doing connecting to sewer, if it's independent systems, it's DOH.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you wondering what elements are?
Yeah, what elements
what
covers,
agencies
yeah,
kinda are
what
happening in
agencies would have to be
between,
covered?
An approval of a rezone to the point of somebody actually being able to
Correct.
say, get a building permit?
Correct.
It can range from Department of Public Works, on the engineering side of it, it can be Department of Health, Department of Environmental Management. You might need to do a LOMAR or a CLOMAR, a letter of conditional map revision, which would be with FEMA. That can take years. It could be with SHPD, State Historic Preservation Division. Oftentimes on an application, there's a balance of going through the necessary studies and having a sense of the applicant having certainty. So in certain cases, the condition will say, if this is approved, go forward and do your burial preservation plan, burial treatment, et cetera. That can also take a very long period of time. So there's all these different factors that line up to getting you to either plan approval or subdivision approval. Those are a few, but not all.
Okay, and currently, as stated in the presentation, we're basing it off of tasks right now, right? So if you get your archaeological study done, then the next phase, then you get.
The way it's currently done is there's generally, when there's a timing condition put in, it'll say something to the effect of get final subdivision approval within 5 years or 10 years, or get, if it's not a subdivision, then go through plan approval within 5 years or 10 years. And so in order to get to that final plan approval or subdivision approval, you have to go through the gauntlet of all of those things to get there. If that condition then expires, then the ordinance becomes stale. And basically the property is unusable at that point in time. And that's why you'll see folks come through to ask for a time condition, an extension on the time condition. Within our conditions, though, always we're putting in mitigation for community, whether it's water, wastewater, septic system, roadways, et cetera.
So Councilmember Inaba, are you, is your intention to put a time frame on each condition? Or are you putting a time frame on the overall application for rezone?
It would be the overall because the language says that within any ordinance for change of zones, that include any such conditions, the director shall specify the time by which all conditions shall be complete. So it would be one, it's not in a timely fashion or in a certain order. It's if final subdivision says 10, usually that's kind of like the main trigger, but this sentence is saying that we will have an idea as to essentially you either come back for an extension before then, or you complete first of all, you complete your conditions, you're all good. If you didn't complete your conditions, you would, if you were smart, come to the council and ask for an extension, your resolution. And if you don't do either of those and you're past your time frame, then you will have to come back through the whole process.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Deleuze.
Thank you, Councilman. But I'm trying to summarize it in my opinion, which is, do what you said you're gonna do. Is that kind of what the point is?
Yes.
So what we've experienced sometimes is or what I've seen is that they do get approvals to move forward with a project per se. So the second point, I guess, is to avoid getting an approval so that they can build value to the property and then sell it. So that would coincide with what your intent is, or what the council's intent is to focus primarily on what that application was supposed to accomplish.
Yes.
Okay. No, I think that that clarifies it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions for council member, staff, or director? Oh, Commissioner Kush.
Councilmember Inaba, do you think yourself and the council or other people who were authors to this bill or supportive of it would be interested? I noticed, and my, time here on this board has been limited, but when you have like the general plan in the urban district that the county controls, the direction of growth. If in that urban district you have a zone change and it remains a house or whatever, for a number of years until they upgrade, wouldn't those conditions always apply to the newest or most current code? So if they required sewer upgrades or something like that, or connection to the sewer, wouldn't that be like a performance condition within the urban district? Or would you be open to maybe having a carve out to apply these time restrictions on real changes where you go from like agriculture to subdivision, like you were referencing in Waikoloa. And I'm not sure if that was all separate or if that was a blanket RM1 rezoning done by, because that's kind of a master plan community. Like I know downtown here, it's all zoned RM1, all those houses could turn into apartments with 10 units every block, every lot or more. So I'm wondering, like within the urban district, if that's like the long range plan, would the council or yourself be open to having a carve out where there isn't, or it's just performance conditions? And that way if they wait a long time, the conditions usually stiffen. As you go along in time, the building requirements get more and more onerous and, expensive to build. But if it's a connection to sewer or widening a road or something within the urban district, I mean, that's kind of baked in, I suppose. Is that something you'd be entertain?
Planning department, if you can make sure I'm stating this accurately, any future permitting requests, whether it be for a new building or putting in a new septic system, all of those always go with the code of the time. So that's not like an area of concern specifically here. It's, for example, if this applicant is supposed to build this road for this community and they said they're gonna do it, we wanna say, okay, get it done in the 10 years. You agree to 10 years, get it done. We don't wanna say, okay, yes, you can get this zoning. We want you to build this road, but there's no time frame on it. And then we're gonna tell the neighbors, okay, and you folks can get this zoning and you can get this zoning, and we're never gonna get the road. Because if the 10 years lapses and this property owner is never gonna do it, and let's say neighbor 2 houses down comes forward and wants to get the zoning, and we know this one is expired, maybe we need to put that road requirement on that application 2 houses down, you know, so it's really allowing us to make sure we don't have a shortage or a issue with infrastructure if people don't comply with the ordinances that they agree to.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I got a question.
Vice Chair.
And this is about the idea of tolling. It seems to me that if I'm reading this, you have on these requirements, D here, a request of any extension, change, or alteration of conditions shall be submitted in writing to the director in lieu of the application required for an applicant initiated change of zone. So if you had tolling in place, wouldn't that kind of alleviate that since you're stopping the clock? And let's say if you had a 5-year time requirement, yet it was being stalled because of government, you would have to come back and, you know, you'd have to go through this process of requesting a time extension or change. But with the tolling, if the clock stops, then the applicant wouldn't necessarily have to do that.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. I personally like the idea of that, because it seems like you're, you know, again, you're putting undue burden on the applicant because of the inefficiencies of government.
Can I respond?
Mhm.
Go
Chair?
ahead, go ahead.
Yes, so previous to Bill 194's passing in 2023, a lot of the change of zone applications, the more simple ones, had a time frame of 5 years with a built-in option of an administrative or initial extension granted by the director. Bill 194 changed that initial extension option and the council grants it by resolution. So the bill is preserved in its original state. The resolution just allows for up to 5-year extension. At this point, we've seen, since that time, we've seen some of these applications come in with a 10-year window off the bat. And then built in by code is an additional 10 years. So that's why the process as it's currently set up would allow for the director to make a recommendation on the actual time required. If it's 10 years, which we've passed numerous applications at this point, give them the 10 years because things are taking longer. And they have up to another 10 years if those things were, if circumstances were out of their control. For example, an agency of the government having held the application up for a long time. So I have concern, and we can have further discussion back at council regarding tolling. My only concern is that when we put in a specific date in the change of zone ordinance, and then we're gonna have this tolling mechanism happening outside, there's a lot of proof that's having to go on. When was it really with this agency or not? And then the date here in the ordinance becomes this gray area, rather than giving them the time it's really gonna require, plus up to, you know, basically double that time by council resolution if it needs to get done. So we've made these attempts to safeguard, and again, by doing it via resolution, that extension, the council cannot change the conditions or change the goalpost, if you will. We've preserved the integrity of the original application as approved. So I do recognize this concept of tolling. I think it just puts us in a more difficult position as a council, as a commission, as a department. Whereas this date on the agreed upon 10 years doesn't actually mean 10 years anymore. So just wanted to kind of walk that one out, both sides. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Coach.
Thank you.
Councilmember Inaba. Maybe if planning department, you could explain what the current process for tolling is. So if you would give an example, like,
Currently, we don't have a tolling process in place. If the ordinance says it needs to be done within 5 years, it needs to be done within 5 years. And then, as the council member mentioned, with the possibility of an extension through the resolution process is what the code currently allows.
so I guess if you were to implement a tolling system or process, how would that look like?
Difficult to say. I know that there's been a fair bit of conversation back and forth at the council level. And based on my recollection, they haven't really landed on anything actionable at this point. So the recommendation here is just to kind of reopen that conversation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions for planning department or Councilmember Inaba? Okay, if there are no other questions, then I do have to ask if there's any other public testimony at this time for this agenda item number 3. Anybody here in person? If not, Tracy, anybody on Zoom?
No, there are no testifiers on Zoom.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
If I may mention something that I forgot to add in my presentation, there was some testimony that came in prior to the Leeward Planning Commission meeting relative to a typo in the report. So just for the record,
Mhm.
I'd like to indicate that on page 4, we incorrectly referenced Bill 194 with the unfavorable recommendation. I will be making the change to Bill 127 to correct that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if not, we will now call for a motion for action. And a reminder, commissioners, we do need a motion on the floor to be able to discuss this matter. So
Any motion to have a discussion? Or this,
we have to have
Oh,
a
an
action item.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so the option,
do you want me to read?
yep, if you,
Two possible options. A favorable recommendation would be, I move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on bill number 127. The language is available in a memo that was provided to you. An unfavorable recommendation, the language would be, I move that an unfavorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council. If there's a favorable recommendation, you can reference. Well, it's interesting, the planning director's recommendation was for an unfavorable, but you could reference those recommendations. If you forward an unfavorable recommendation, you can state the reasons. And in that you could address issues or concerns.
Susanna,
Yes,
they could also look to offer amendments as well, correct?
you can absolutely offer amendments. If it's a favorable recommendation, you could offer favorable with recommendations as to how to amend. If an unfavorable, your concerns, basically your recommendations, could be stated as reasons for the unfavorable.
yeah, does everybody need a recess to mull it over?
If it's helpful before we do that, as an example, the Leeward Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation, but also indicated that certain components of the director's recommendation, although it was unfavorable, be included in further discussion up at council. And those were strengthening the performance conditions, the idea of rediscussing tolling, and then the idea of a sunset clause, basically reverting the zoning back if a time condition is not met. So just as an example, that may be helpful.
I would also remind commissioners that if we do break, the requirement is that we not speak to each other until we reconvene. The commissioners not speak to each other on this agenda item.
Okay, if that's the will of the commission, you need a recess? Okay, I'll do a 10-minute recess until 10:30. All right, we're gonna call the Windward Planning Commission back to order. So commissioners, we are still pending a motion for action on agenda item number 3. Is there,
I have a couple more questions for planning department and perhaps
Sure.
Councilmember Inaba, if we can
Sure.
revert
Mhm.
before a motion.
Sure.
So a couple of things, I just reread through this, which is like the 12th time. And I 100% understand your intent. I can remember I used to live in Seaview Circle in Kona. Kona Vistas was built and they didn't connect the road up to Hualalai for 20 years. And people were kind of hot about it. And I remember that the vines growing over the billboard, Hualani Estates, we're on the move, as Banana Polka covered it, and the 2 houses, showroom houses. So I 100% hear it. I'm always worried when I have no issues with the integrity of the current council, but this bill will go well beyond all of our times, your times, and planning director's times. And I worry about the politicizing development, which is like what you talk about in Waikoloa, used to be a thing of the past, right? All these big subdivisions that were created in 1959 in the early 60s just to beat the rules. That's a powerful tool. And
sorry, Commissioner, is there a question? 'Cause
yeah,
we're-
I'm just getting
yeah.
there.
Okay.
So I'm worried, what's your controls for political, politicizing this and the development of these things? That's my first question really is like, do you have a concern about that? And what's the stopgap? What's the counter to that?
I'm not sure that I can say for certain whether this bill would increase or decrease political involvement. The process remains the same. Essentially, it's a directive of the planning director to include the condition in the ordinance. The planning commissions could, in their review, recommend that that condition be removed. The councils could remove it. They could make it longer. They could make it shorter. But the point is that the commissions and the council would receive a bill that already has a sensible date that was provided by the planning director, taking note of how long or short things might be taking to get through the process right now. So I don't know that there's a political involvement in this bill.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Kush.
So I was reading under the informed development timing part of that, and this is maybe more for the planning department. Is that something where you would set up and be like, hey, the average time of an application going through SHPD is X, wastewater is X, these various departments, is that, I'm trying to conceptualize what that would look like.
Sure. So actually, this idea came from the discussion when the bill was introduced at council, from some of the other council members saying, hey, we would really like to have a sense of how long these things take, such that when an application comes in, the time request can reflect the reality of the general reality of the development process. So the idea was to have the director work with other departments, industry professionals to kind of come up with this matrix as a tool for applicants, as well as an educational tool for the public to get a sense of really the extent of time a general development takes. Obviously, there are particulars of each case that may increase or decrease this time. But the idea was toward, I use the terminology right sizing the request so that there's some reality that comes in. In years past, it's always been kind of a standard 5 years with the possibility of an additional 5 years. our thought with this is to help kind of inform applicants on making a more informed request. If that does answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So a smaller request would be, more straightforward, and doing a big subdivision somewhere, Palamanui or something would be
Correct.
much greater.
Correct. Another thing that I could mention, and just thinking about it today, is that an applicant could come in and say, I think this is going to take me 10 years. So that's their request. Through the process, as we see agency comments coming in, if there are heavy, archaeological issues that pop up through the process, the department could recommend more time, or the applicant could come in and say, hey, seeing now all these extra steps that we might have to take, they could then amend their request to ask for more time. So that's another possibility as well. It's not you get one shot to ask for the time you need. It's not static, it's dynamic, and the more information, the better to inform the request.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? If not, I have a question. So currently the language says shall. Would you be opposed to having may instead of shall? Because shall means the department has to provide a time frame, versus may, just based off of your conversation, Christian, that you just had with Commissioner Kush, if it's a smaller type of development where it's just like a single family parcel being changed into a commercial neighborhood or whatever it is, that may not have the same complexity as something that's being multi-lot subdivision, change of zone. So that's just my question.
I think the intent of the bill is really on the word shall. And again, it's a directive to the director. The commission can recommend the removal. The council can remove it, shorten it, lengthen it. But we will have, based on those conversations that Mr. K talked about, a time frame that is supposed to be realistic and encompassing of the time required to get those things done, plus an option for an initial extension should the applicant need it due to unforeseen circumstances. So I would ask that it stays as shall, so that there's consistency, because if not, it would be at the discretion of the director when and who they would be providing timeframes for or not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other commissioners? If not, the request still stands. Is there a motion for action on this item?
Chair, I was gonna make a recommendation. I move that a favorable recommendation to be forwarded to the county council on Bill 127 with the docket number PL CCI 2024 000006. However, some of the amendments, what I was looking at was similar to what was mentioned earlier with the Leeward Planning Commission, which was some consideration given. I guess it's really hard to put everything in one box on the timing issue, what you just mentioned, Chair.
Mhm.
So I guess council was just to ask for some consideration or some mechanism, I guess, maybe for an easier word, to allow some discretion on the timing issue. Tolling is difficult. I agree with you. I had to look up the word too. So I don't know how that can be done. I do know in working in certain situations that it's beyond their control, as mentioned earlier, archaeological issues that may come about, but consideration, or better yet, perhaps a more of a definition. We both kind of were talking in that direction. And that the And I agree with you, Councilman. Don't get me wrong, that I've seen a lot of failed attempts, you know, in that respect. So I guess with those two items, if anyone wants to add anything else, so I wanted to make sure that those two amendments were added into this motion.
Just for clarity, could I ask you to restate so that our staff has your motion?
God, I was hoping you wouldn't make me do that.
So it's a favorable
It
recommendation.
is a favorable I move that a favorable recommendation for this docket with adding those two amendments that consideration would be given for the concept of tolling, maybe to make it easier, and that some discretion or I don't want to say discretion, latitude might be a better thing to do with more complex projects. So that gives some, allows the planning director to work with the council on that. So it would be a mechanism. I'm not a politician, so maybe Council Hidalgo can use better language, but
I'm sorry, I'm still not clear what the amendments are. Are you asking that the word shall be removed? So
no,
that
I did
it's
not
been made?
mention that. No,
So this first one was tolling. You want the amendment for tolling.
correct.
And the
And
second is.
The second one is a mechanism to give the planning director discretion on the time period.
for more complex issues or just more time, more,
Well, I believe that it's, I believe it would be for more complex developments. And you know, it's hard to set just to put them all in a box, but like Commissioner Kush said, you know, I'm just doing this little house. Okay, that's kind of straightforward. I'm doing this, you know, 1,200 unit apartment, you know, I may run into more problems or
Yeah.
whatever, but I see the intent of this bill and I want to say I support it. It's just that sometimes I do see where a planning director needs to give a little bit of latitude. Aside from the stipulations, you know, that they just know it's gonna take a while. Yeah.
If I can just further clarify, are you saying for smaller projects, the director is not compelled to add a time condition, but for larger projects, he is compelled to add a time condition?
I guess maybe it might be easier to say that, maybe that recommendation can come from the planning director to set up a matrix of what, you know, you guys know what projects tend to take, you know, right off the bat, that'll take long. So maybe that's a better,
So the recommendation in the report that talks about setting up that development timeframe
right,
matrix.
right. On
Okay.
item,
that's the informed timing development under,
item 3, and
Item
let's call it what it is.
Thank you.
So the amendment would be for those two items on the addressing the tolling issue and then building a timeframe, matrix timeframe on selected projects. Asking the council to maybe define that a little better or give consideration in that area. So
it's been moved by Commissioner Lewis for a favorable recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Kush. Okay,
I have some discussion.
yeah, go ahead, discussion.
Shocking. Commissioner Deleuze, would you be amendable to rolling back the tolling portion of your and just do an informed, having the planning department do an informed development timing, maybe an annual informed planning, informed development timing? I think tolling is kind of like ripe for abuse, right? I go submit my application and I purposefully make it kind of lacking so that it gets kicked back several times and you can eat up time. So I think, and that just becomes like what Councilmember Inaba talked about is, you know, it becomes like really burdensome to track, like.
no, I agree. I mean, I don't dispute that, but I can tell you going and dealing with the burial council, it's very difficult.
No,
Very
100%,
difficult. And I
100%.
think that on a particular project, I'm aware of, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time, and it's just something that it's extremely frustrating because, you know, when you're dealing with a council, an organization in that sense, right? That, you know, they don't even agree who sits where, you know, let alone coming up with a plan, right? You're supposed to come up with a burial plan, right? Or some way of mitigating the whole process. I think the issue is real, I guess, with when dealing with certain government agencies. I think council is aware. I think that my personal thing was, you know, okay, the most you can get is a 2-year reprieve or time frame. Maybe setting that as a parameter, but I think that tolling definitely needs to be addressed, especially on the west side. You know, that's a huge issue, which is burial issues, and as well setbacks, burial, and, you know, a lot of things come up. But I think council can. I just think that to be upfront to the developers, I guess my point is that they're given some consideration, maybe no more than 2 years. And what you're saying is a time frame, which I don't disagree, but that we should state the time frame with them. And I think that's part of Councilman Inama's intent, is that there is a time frame, you know, and this is the most that you're gonna get. And hopefully that pushes through. Anyway, that's a suggestion. Go ahead, Council.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that the bill as written gives the director the full authority to determine the time frame. So when it comes to the commissions and the council, it would be with a time frame that the director, having reviewed the application and knowing the steps that the application would go through, he or she would provide that. It wouldn't be, the council could amend it to shorter or longer, but the director would be the one to provide that original time frame based on his or her expertise. So I just want to make that clear, that we're giving the director full latitude to make that decision on the amount of time that the application should be given, and that recommendation be included as part of the condition of the change of zone. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, Commissioner Deluz, are you still keeping in the timing amendment in your motion? The tolling amendment.
Well, the amendment was mainly to ask the council to address the issue, but I think on councilperson's clarification, Councilperson Inama, I have no problem removing it if it was going to deter us moving forward with a favorable recommendation.
Okay,
So typically a motion to amend, to remove that would be, someone would make a motion to amend, possibly you, because it was your motion, and a simple majority.
Okay, so I motion that we amend your favorable recommendation. Do you need me to repeat the motion?
To remove the tolling.
just to remove the tolling.
To remove the tolling and just have the informed development timing
Matrix.
remain.
Okay. Yeah, all in favor of removing that amendment from the original motion?
Do we need a second
Oh,
on that?
oh, yeah, I'll second, yeah. All in favor? Okay. So majority remove the motion, remove the amendment. I would also suggest, if having this number 4, the timing condition requirement exemptions, and specifically in these specific designations, such as the open space, scenic, historic, cultural resource protection, and public and recreational uses. I don't know if we have to cover all of them, or we want to break it out into, I mean, Parks and Rec. I would hope that we would have a time frame on when our parks are being built and getting approved. But I would think open space, scenic, historic, and cultural resource protection, especially cultural resource protection, that takes a long time. I mean, depending on what's there. So I would make a motion to amend, including number 4, timing condition requirement exemptions, but only open it up to open space, scenic, historic, and cultural protection. Exempt or remove public and recreational uses.
Can you restate the limited, it was for cultural and open, sorry.
Yeah, so my motion is to amend Commissioner Deluz's motion to include number 4, timing condition requirement exemptions, but to only include the exemptions for open space, scenic, historic, and cultural resource protection. With public and recreational uses to be still under the time frame.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor for that amendment? Or any discussion?
I have a discussion.
Yeah,
Good
go ahead.
discussion.
Go ahead.
So it says, for example, and this is for the planning department, are there like, is this just like a couple examples? Is there a long list, or is this exclusive of the issues that you see for coming up here?
So I think the intent with this is just to provide examples of what we mean of situations where having a timing condition is just not necessary or appropriate. So it's by no means an exhaustive list. I will also say that this is it's not often that this happens. It was just part of the discussion and analysis in those cases where it could happen. It may not be appropriate to have a recommendation for a time condition.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got condition C, where a property has split zoning.
Mhm.
Shouldn't we have that in there as well? I mean, I've seen several projects that have different zonings running through it. I don't know what the difficulty is of, you know, consolidating that into one zoning. I could see how that could take quite a bit of time.
And that's under 4C, right? Yeah, you're
Correct.
talking- Yeah.
I would put that in there as well.
Would the commission be opposed to include just all of 4, A, B, and C?
Yeah, I think we should just put all of 4 in there.
Okay. So then I would amend my motion to include under the planning director's suggestions, number 4, timing condition requirement exemptions, A, B, and C.
And so
Yeah, so-
Commissioner Perrin, you seconded that.
Second that, yes.
Chairman, may I just clarify? When you made your original motion, you kind of carved out,
Mhm.
or you're just saying the whole thing without the
Yeah,
specific
it's
carve-outs?
based off, it's not the exhaustive list of
Okay.
examples, so.
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of that amendment to the motion? You say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay. Okay, the amendment stands. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the original motion, which is a motion for favorable recommendation with amendments. And so the amendments as stated currently are Christian.
If I have this correct, the first, so we're removing the tolling condition. And the first is to build or to create the informed timing development matrix, and also to add the timing condition requirement exemptions.
Okay. Any discussion on this motion? Any comments? I would just say that I would appreciate if the council does consider the complexity of the projects. Just because it's not the same for a single family parcel versus a 30 lot subdivision. Yeah. That would be only my suggestion. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair and Commission. I think we don't want to be wishy-washy at the council as to who we're giving 5 years versus 10 years, 15 years, because we are not planners by trade. We don't have that experience and that level of expertise. So the point of this bill is that the planning department provides us that, and it's the intent that everything comes to us with a time frame for completion. And then as for the exemptions, in some cases, this time frame is based on other conditions that are actionable. If it's something like you have to consult with SHPD if you find something that isn't a 10-year mark, that's just the law. So we will definitely walk out this discussion. I'm going to work with the planning department to really make sure that we have a solid summary together based on what the Leeward Planning Commission stated and what you folks are stating today, so we can have an accurate representation when the bill comes back to council. So we can make sure if it does move forward and become law, it encompasses all of these perspectives that have been shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, if there's no other discussion, I call for a vote.
Okay, to the original amended motion, Commissioner Deluz,
Yes.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you.
Mahalo nui, commissioners, for your service. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Council.
Okay, shall we take a 5-minute break? Anybody needs to take a break? Okay, 5-minute break. Okay. We good? Okay. We'll move on to new business now. Agenda item number 4. Applicants Garvin and Laura Good. PL-SPP 2024-000064 and amendment SPP 13-000151. Request to amend special permit number 13-000151 to expand the existing 3-bedroom bed and breakfast operation to a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast operation on a 2.323 acre property within the state land use agricultural district. The subject property is located at 27-2365 Hawaii Belt Road, 300 feet west Malco of its intersection with Kalaloa. I'm gonna try it twice. That's it. Camp Road, portions of Aleamai and Kalaloa South Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 32-7-008, parcel number 130. Okay, presentation by staff, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Give me a moment, please. All right, as the chair stated, this is an amendment to a special permit application. The subject property, indicated by the red star, is located in the South Hilo district of Hawaii Island, more specifically in the vicinity of Papaiko, Mauka of Highway 19. The applicant is requesting to amend special permit number 13151 to expand the existing three-bedroom bed and breakfast operation to a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast operation within an 8-bedroom dwelling on a 2.323 acre property within the state land use agricultural district. There is a permitted 5-bedroom dwelling on the subject property. In 2014, the applicant applied for a building permit to construct an addition to the main dwelling, including a covered walkway leading to a 3-level addition with 3 permitted playrooms, 1 on each story. The applicants consider these playrooms as bedrooms, hence the 8-bedroom dwelling representation. The applicant's reasons for requests are they originally requested to amend their special permit to allow for the operation of a 7-room inn. However, this would require extensive and costly improvements to the structures. Thus, they decided on the current request to expand the existing 3-bedroom bed and breakfast to a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast operation instead. County zoning for the subject parcel and surrounding, or the parcel surrounding them is family agricultural 2 acre. There are other zoning. Mauka of the highway is agricultural 20 acres, and Makai of the highway is generally single-family residential 10,000 square feet. The state land use boundary map designates the subject property and surrounding area as agricultural, as indicated by the green color. Makai of the highway generally is designated as urban, indicated by the pink. The general plan land use pattern allocation guide map designates the subject parcel and area, surrounding area is important agricultural lands with low density urban adjacent to the Makai side. Here is an aerial photograph of the subject property outlined in red. Again, for reference, we've got Highway 19 running to the right-hand side of the slide and Kalawa Camp Road running across here. Here is the existing dwelling and related improvements. Here's the applicant's site plan, again showing the existing dwelling and the improvements. As the structures are already built, there's no new construction proposed. So this is just to utilize the existing structure to expand from a 3-bedroom bed and breakfast to a 5-bedroom bed and breakfast. Here are some photos of the site. The photo on the left is a view of Kalawa Camp Road facing Mauka with the subject property on the right-hand side. And a view of Kalawa Camp Road facing Makai is on the right-hand side with the subject property on the left. Here are views of the site itself, showing on the left here, showing the main dwelling and the addition that took place circa 2015. And here's a closer up view of the main dwelling and that 3-story addition. Just for reference again, when the applicants came in and added to their dwelling, they had to add and upgrade their wastewater system pursuant to Department of Health requirements. At the time, Department of Health called these playrooms bedrooms type rooms. And so from that time, the applicants thought these were permitted as bedrooms. As we went through this process, we found out that they weren't permitted. So there's a condition of approval requiring at least one of these playrooms to be converted to permitted as a bedroom in order to allow for the 5-bedroom bed and breakfast. Until then, it'll be limited to 4 bedrooms. With that, the planning director is recommending approval of the amendment to the special permit, and I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Christian. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Christian, just quick on the building improvements to make it into a bedroom, like smoke detectors and add a closet.
I'm not exactly sure. My sense is that a lot of the there was the original building permit that built the structure and the playrooms, and then there was another building permit that took place a couple years later that added different size windows, closets, and things like that. So my guess is that it should be relatively easy to adjust such that these rooms can be permitted as bedrooms. I'll let the applicant address that as they may have already sought an answer from Public Works.
Okay, any other questions? If not, if I could ask the applicant or the applicant's representative, please come up. Okay, if I could please swear you both in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
Yes, I do.
Okay, before you start, please state your name, the area you reside in, and who you represent.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Sidney Fouquet. I'm a planning consultant. I'm assisting a good friend of mine, Garvin Good.
Driving good.
Okay, and have you received the background and recommendation reports, and do you agree with the recommendations as provided?
Yes, the staff's report, as always, was very comprehensive. We've had a chance to review the conditions together and found them to be acceptable. Just very briefly, just to add to that, to respond to Commissioner Cush's question, understandably being a former firefighter, he can respond to that. But before he responds to that, he was always under the impression that when the 3 additional bedrooms, well, the so-called rec rooms were converted, they were really like bedrooms. However, and that's the reason why Department of Health had, mandated that the wastewater system be upgraded. However, the building department did not necessarily do the appropriate conversion, in the building permit application. So they just left it as a fun room or playroom. And so the staff's recommendation is that they need to fix that up with the building department. So from a permitting standpoint, that's really not going to be an issue. He can speak directly to, what's currently in it right now for fire protection purposes. But just to kind of provide an additional reason why he had changed from a 7-room into a 5-room bed and breakfast. First of all, he wanted to do a 7-room bed and breakfast, but somehow it's quote unquote not allowed. By definition, you would push it on to the next category. The next category being either like a lodge or an inn. So he came in we had submitted the request for an inn. As it was being kind of reviewed by the staff, they said, rightfully so, that do you realize that if it's an inn, that the use classification changes? That requires, like now you have to comply with ADA requirement, fire protection requirement, all these added things. And so, Mr. and Mrs. Good basically said that, we're too old. We don't want to operate an inn. And so they found that the best use was just to have and operate a 5-bedroom B&B in the existing structure, and then have it operated, the 3 remaining bedrooms then would be, rented out by not rented out, but would be occupied by the operator of the B&B and a family. And so in so doing would help address some of the, like for the need for housing rather than just one individual. So the 3 rooms are kind of designed to be addressed for a family operator within that area. So specifically in relation to your question, Garvin.
Yeah, we have fire extinguishers in all the rooms and there's smoke detectors in all the rooms.
So if there are any other questions, we'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fouquet. Are there any other questions for the applicant or the applicant's representative? So my question, the current IWS system is sufficient now to cover the expansion of this, or you have to go back to the Department of Health and
You mean the building
septic
permit, the wastewater system?
wastewater system?
The wastewater system was designed and permitted for 3 additional bedrooms, a total of 8.
Okay.
Yep.
Seeing no questions, I do want to just check if there's any public testimony for this item. Tracy, anybody on Zoom?
Thank you, Chair. There's no one on Zoom for this
Okay.
item.
Okay. Okay, seeing that there's no testimony, we'll now move on for a motion for action then.
Chair,
Go ahead.
I move that the application for a special permit docket number SPP 13-000-151 be amended and PL-SPP 2024 4064 be approved based on the planning director's recommendations, which shall be adopted.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Kush. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there any comment or discussion on this motion? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Belog,
Aye.
Commissioner Deluz,
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion carries 6-0.
Okay, you'll be notified of our decision in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you then. Okay.
Leaving us both?
Okay, due to a conflict of interest for agenda items number 5, number 6, and number 7, and number 8, Director Kern will be switching out with Deputy Director Jeffrey Darrow.
Who gets to go to recess?
Okay. We'll now go on to agenda item number 5. Applicant is Brian Kroll, PL-SPP 2024-000063. Application for a special permit to establish a temporary and permanent church and related improvements on a 1-acre property within the State Land Use Agricultural District. The subject property is located at 15-1740 24th Avenue, approximately 160 feet northwest of its intersection with Paradise Drive, Hawaiian Paradise Park, Keao, Puna, Hawaii, TMK 3-1-5-040, parcel number 205. Okay. Can I ask for the presentation, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is special permit application for Brian Kroll. The subject 1-acre parcel indicated by the red location dot is located in the Puna district of Hawaii Island, more specifically in the Hawaiian Paradise Park subdivision. For reference, Keaupohoa Road is running generally north-south to the left of this slide, and the property is located on 24th Avenue, just above its intersection with Paradise Drive. Thank you. A special permit to establish a temporary and permanent church and related improvements on a 1-acre property within the State Land Use Agricultural District. Sorry, these are the requests from the applicant. The proposed church facility consists of the following components: a 1,650 square foot open air pavilion with one enclosed wall for regularly scheduled worship services, one 650 square foot covered deck, one 256 square foot covered deck for community uses, two detached bathroom facilities, and potable and non-potable water tanks. A gravel driveway from 24th Avenue, a 22-stall gravel parking lot, and one paved ADA accessible parking stall situated near the proposed pavilion. Until the permanent facility is constructed, the applicant proposes to erect a temporary canopy tent and portable toilets to accommodate regular services. Temporary building permits will be sought for this proposed use. The applicant proposes to hold regular worship services on Sundays between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and on Wednesdays between 6:15 p.m. and 7:15 p.m. Additionally, the applicant proposes to offer free food distribution events on the third Saturday of the month between 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. Finally, the applicant proposes to host guest speaker events 2 times per year for 2 to 3 nights between the hours of 6:15 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Regular worship services are anticipated to attract an average of 30 attendees, while food distribution and guest speaker events are expected to draw a maximum of 50 attendees. In addition to the applicant, who is the pastor for the church, there will be 1 full-time staff member managing the property, proposed food distribution events, and guest speaker events. The applicant plans to begin the building permit process immediately after issuance of the special permit. Construction is anticipated to take approximately 12 months and cost roughly $100,000. These are the reasons for the request. The applicant owns the Pacific Baptist Church, which is an independent Baptist church that was chartered in 2013 and originally operated in Hilo. The applicant purchased the subject property in HPP in 2017 with the intention of relocating his church services when the former property lease expired and rent was raised. The applicant has been hosting church services and other activities in his home on an adjacent parcel for the last few years, but would like to construct a permanent facility under the requested special permit. This is the county zoning map. The subject property outlined in red and surrounding properties are zoned agricultural 1 acre. The state land use boundary map designates the subject property and surrounding area as agricultural. The general plan LUPAG map designates the subject property and surrounding area as rural. So this is the applicant site plan. Here's the applicant site plan. For reference, this is 24th Avenue and is running along the right-hand side of the slide. Here's the proposed location of the driveway, as well as 22 parking spaces. Further back are the location of the temporary tent and portable toilet. Further back are the location of the proposed permanent structures, including the church pavilion, the covered deck, and the ADA accessible bathrooms, as well as the ADA parking. The image in the upper left shows a zoomed out view of the subject property outlined in red and surrounding area. Surrounding area uses are mainly residential and vacant land. And across Paradise Drive, thank you, sir. You can see the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall parking lot. The image on the right is the zoomed in aerial photo with the subject property shown cleared and graded and currently vacant of any permanent structures or improvements. The photo on the top of the slide is a view of the subject property from 24th Avenue. The bottom left image is a north-facing view of the property with the proposed church site on the left. The bottom right image is a south-facing view with the subject property shown on the right. There was one piece of testimony submitted within the last 48 hours that you should have received this morning. The planning director's recommendation is approval with conditions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. And for commission, I think this is the first time that Alu's presenting to us. So we have here Alu Kahekala,
Aloha.
the planning staff. So thank you. Any questions for staff?
One quick question was,
Go ahead.
in changing the zoning, what does because right now it's zone ag, right? Ag one. What is the designation it moves to?
It wouldn't change the zoning. It would just be a special permit to allow the church on the site.
Okay, so it's not a change of zoning, just a special use permit,
Yes.
special permit, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, could I ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to please come up? You please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do. I do.
Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and I have to also ask, do you have you received the background and recommendation reports from the planning department? And do you agree with the proposed conditions?
John Pippin, I reside near Honoka'a. I do swear to tell the truth. Already said that, sorry. I'm here assisting Pastor Brian Kroll with his application. He resides on the neighboring property just to the north. We have received the proposed conditions for the special permit. We reviewed them and we agree with them. We appreciate very much the work that's gone into this project from the planning department. It was a great presentation by department staff, and we appreciate the efficient method this meeting has gone through this morning. It's been a full agenda. We're basically here to answer questions you might have about the project. It does have a significant community benefit. They've been doing good for the community for a number of years, and this would just allow them to take the next step and really cement their place and have a permanent home in the community. And with that, we'll answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for the applicant or applicant's representative? I did have a question about parking earlier, but I do see the condition here that, no parking be allowed on 24th Avenue. So you're just going to try to squeeze everybody in that 1 acre.
Yeah, there's adequate space. We're anticipating, again, 30 people, 2 people per car on average. We're providing 22 parking spaces on site plus 88 parking. It seems to fit nicely.
Okay. Is there any intention of renting out the church's facilities for any type of events or like weddings or anything like that?
No, only what's in the application.
It would just be, I would just, since I'm under oath, just within the membership. If we had a member getting married, we don't charge for it. They would have access and we would probably count that as one of the special type events.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Seeing no other discussion? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
go
just
ahead, please.
interested,
Chair.
you said that your property was adjacent
Yes.
to this property?
Yes.
Just what side? Curious.
If you're looking at the property, it would have been the property on the right, where everything is
Not on,
built.
not on the corner, to
Yeah,
the,
not
to
on
the
the
north.
corner. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's another neighbor on the corner with Paradise.
Okay. Thank you. We do have one testifier here. So if I could ask that testifier to come up, Eli Blazeff. Is that Eli here? If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I will.
Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Eli Blazef, and I go to this church. And I moved here, and Pastor Brian helped me find my place to stay, place to live, without even meeting him. And I decided to come to this church because the church is based on the Word of God and the Holy Bible. And he doesn't have, like to say this is a joke, he doesn't have an opinion. But what does God say? And where does it say that in the Bible? That's what I like about going to this church for. So it's really been a blessing to me since I moved here, and he's been such a help to my family. And all I can say continually is thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. Okay, Tracy, is there anybody on Zoom for this item?
Hi, Chair. There's no one on Zoom for this item.
Okay, thank you. All right then. If there's no other testifiers, I will ask for a motion for action on this item. Unless anybody else has any questions. Okay, yeah, so if not, motion for action.
I move that the application for special permit docket number PL-SPP-2024-000063 be approved based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Perrin. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Kush. Okay, any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, call for the vote.
Okay. Motion to approve as recommended by planning director is Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Commissioner Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze. Aye. Chair Lynn,
Aye.
motion passes 6-0.
Okay, thank you. You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 6. We're at, applicants are Stephen and Susan Shevlin, PL-SMA-2024-000052. Application for a special management area use permit to construct a 1-story, 2,300 square feet, single-family residence and related improvements on a 1.977 acre shoreline parcel within the special management area. The subject property is located approximately 420 feet south of the intersection of a private access road and Hawaii Belt Road on the Makai side, Kamae'e and Wailua Government Tract, North Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 33-1-001, parcel number 49. Now ask for presentation by Alex Roy.
Hello again. Today we are on number 3, special management area use permit application SMA 24-52. This is for Stephen and Susan Shevlin in the North Hilo district of this island. Here's a location map. You can see on the left-hand map the star showing the approximate location of the project area just north of Hakalau Bay and the Hakalau Bay Park. I added the TMK to kind of give you an indication of the shoreline subdivision that this property is part of. Outlined or overlaid in red is the subject property. The applicant is requesting to construct a new 1-story, 2,300 square foot single family residence. Includes 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, study, kitchen, living room, dining room, laundry, and related improvements, such as a storage room, a 500 square foot lanai, and an in-ground swimming pool. Second is to construct a new 2-story detached garage with 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom on the 2nd floor, and a 3-car garage on the 1st floor. Potable water will be provided via a Commission on Water Resource Management approved well and pump. If the well water is not adequate, they're going to move to catchment. So wastewater will be handled via Department of Health approved individual wastewater system. All development proposed will be 100 feet Malca of the shoreline, which in this area is actually the top of Polly. So here's the zoning map. We can see the entire area, including the subject parcel, are within agricultural zoning 20A. The state land use is primarily agriculture with the remnant parcel. You can see this one here listed as parcel 777. That indicates that's a state remnant, but a lot of that land has eroded away, thus making these parcels shoreline parcels. Recently, we did a project here, Mr. Kokol, for the Ulu. He did a residence that you guys approved, so it's the same area. Just finishing off the development of this parcel, of the subdivision. There's only a few parcels that are undeveloped now. Lupeg, so the general plan, of course, that shoreline area is open, but the rest of, including the subject parcel, are important ag lands. Here's an aerial photograph showing the subject parcel outlined in the red dash. You can see the really hefty cliff. So that remnant, obviously is long gone. And so, excuse me, the top of Polly here is the shoreline. So they'll be held back about 100 feet. Here's another shot. You can see that the property is primarily it's undeveloped, and then there's very little vegetation. There's a couple trees. Of course, there's ironwoods and such along the shoreline, but very little vegetation existing, mostly just grass. Also note the other large residential structures located in the subdivision. Here's a site plan. We can see from the asphalt access road, which is parallel to the Hawaii Belt Road. There'll be a long driveway going down to the garage structure, which is kind of on the southern portion of the property, and then the main dwelling and pool. And the red line indicates the 100-foot setback, not the 40-foot, just to be clear. So that is just to kind of show that's the setback that they've chosen to hold to, and it's 100 feet. So well outside of the shoreline setback area. Here's a floor plan showing the main dwelling on the right-hand side, and then the garage structure here on the left-hand bottom side. As typical for the SMAs, I like to put in the profile. So here's what it's going to be looking like. You can see the garage structure and then the main structure. The full set of plans, of course, are in your packet. Access from Hawaii Belt Road to the private entrance is right here on the right-hand side. So they would access and then drive along parallel on the private access road. But this is looking north along Hawaii Belt Road. And again, the access to the subdivision is on the right-hand side. And then looking south along Hawaii Belt Road, access to the subdivision is on the left, and the subject property is just off in the distance here along that road there. It's unimproved, kind of, but it's a private road. So I just wanted to be clear. So here is that intersection I was showing you. And so the applicant would then just drive along this private road. And Mr. Kokol, the one we did was down at the end there. Not too long ago. So this is the parcel that will be developed. So they would just access that. At this time, the director is recommending approval with the stated conditions for PL SMA 2024-000052. I could take questions.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Any questions for staff? And that was the one I was thinking about, the ulu trees.
That was, yep, Mr. Kokol. Yep, this is the same area, just up the road a little bit.
Okay, if not, we will ask for the applicant or the applicant's representatives to please come up. and I already sworn you in, Mr. Pippin, so
Should I reintroduce myself just for the
yeah,
record?
just for the record, please introduce yourself.
John Pippin, Land Planning, Hawaii. I live just outside of Honoka'a. I'm here representing the applicants, the Shevlins, in their SMA major application. They regret to not be able to be here in person today. They reside currently in St. Louis, but intend to retire to this property when it's completed and they're nearing retirement age. They should be available by Zoom, though, should you have any questions for them personally. We appreciate the work that was put into the conditions and the application by staff. I've reviewed these conditions with the Shevlins closely, and we are all in agreement with the proposed conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so commissioners, any questions for Mr. Pippin? Okay. Seeing none? Then let me just check here if there's any testimony. Any testimony on Zoom, Tracy?
Thank you, Chair. We only have a Susie Shevlin on Zoom, and I believe she's the applicant.
Okay, Ms. Shevlin, did you want to say anything?
I think I have it set. Sorry about that. I just want to say thank you for your time. We appreciate it. My husband couldn't make it today. He started a new job this week, so it's been a little crazy. We wish we could have been there in person, but we do appreciate all of your time.
Thank you. Okay, seeing that there's no other questions, is there a motion for action?
I move that the application for special management area SMA use permit docket number PL SMA 2024-000052 be approved based on the planning director's recommendations, which shall be adopted.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Perrin. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call for the vote.
Commissioner Baylog? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Okay. We have agenda item number 7. Which is applicants Matthew Dietrich, Stephen Dietrich, and Jane Dietrich, PL-SPP-2023-000052. Application for a special permit to allow for the establishment of a 3-bedroom bed and breakfast operation within an existing dwelling and to legitimize an existing campground on a 1-acre portion of an approximately 2-acre parcel of land in the State Land Use Agricultural District. The subject property is located at 281435 Old Mamalahoa Highway, approximately 1 mile north of its intersection with Hawaii Belt Road, Ka'akepa, Malamalama, Iki, South Hilo, Hawaii TMK 32-8-012, parcel number 22. Okay, and staff
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to disclose, every so often when we receive applications, they could be in close proximity to where we currently live. This particular application is within, I would guesstimate within a half a mile of where I live. They access on the same road that I access my property. I have no affiliation. I'm not even sure if I've ever met them. I'm familiar with it. The operation has been around for quite some time. And what's brought it to our attention, as we'll see in the presentation, was a complaint that came in. But when we do that, we try to help applicants achieve compliance, and that's what we're doing. So just wanted to disclose that. Again, no affiliation, no connection. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Jessica?
Thank you, Chair. This is a special permit application for Matthew, Stephen, and Jane Dietrich. The subject property is shown in a red dot there at the top of the screen. It's near the town of Honomu, and it's on the Mauka side of the Belt Road, about 20 minutes north of Hilo. The applicant's request is a special permit for a 3-bedroom bed and breakfast establishment within an existing dwelling and to legitimize an existing campground on a 1-acre portion of a 2-acre parcel of land. The existing dwelling has 3 permitted bedrooms, and the applicant intends to permit a 4th bedroom for use by the B&B operator. The campground includes 6 campsites or cabanas to be used for overnight accommodations, with each consisting of a 120 square foot raised platform, a roof, corner posts, and a 3-foot guardrail. The project includes construction of a new 120 square foot bathhouse consisting of 2 toilets, 2 sinks, 2 showers, and a new septic system. The applicant's stated goal is to provide alternative and rustic overnight accommodations, allowing visitors an opportunity to enjoy and learn about Hamakua and to support businesses and farms in the area. Additionally, the applicants note that while there is some fruit tree propagation and livestock pasturing, the subject property is narrow with a steep elevation incline, making intensive agricultural productivity unviable. The subject property is outlined in red here, and you can see that it, as well as the surrounding area, is zoned agricultural 20 acres. And the subject property and the surrounding area is designated state land use agricultural. And you see here the general plan LUPAG map designates the subject property important agricultural lands, as is most of the surrounding area, with the exception of the town of Honomu, which has some low density and medium density urban, and then the coastline being open. This is the applicant's site plan, and you can see on the right side of the screen there for orientation, that's Old Mamalahoa Highway. And the access road provides access kind of down the center of this narrow property. There are existing structures, which you can see towards the Mauka side of the property. There's an existing water storage tank, existing dwelling, and the IWS. There are 6 existing cabana structures, and those are shown in gray through the property. And then the proposed structure of the bathhouse is here towards kind of the center of the property. And just south of that is the proposed IWS with its leach field a little bit Mackay. The property here is outlined in blue, and you can see that it's just Mauka of Old Mamalahoa Highway. And it is developed with the existing structures as noted with the existing dwelling and the cabanas and driveway. The surrounding area is primarily agricultural and residential with several vacant properties. These views show you Old Mamalahoa Highway. It's looking, this view is looking south on the left side, and the right slide shows you looking north. And this particular slide shows you the access point of the existing driveway and the gate to the subject property. This is the subject property looking west, or Mauka on your left, and looking Mackay or east on your right. And the views show the existing cabana structures. And looking west here, you see the existing dwelling with the existing driveway. And the director's recommendation is approval with conditions. I will note that there was a piece of testimony that you all should have received earlier today. And with that, I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jessica? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask the applicant or their applicant's representative to please come up. I could please swear you in, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear? Oh, if you please press the mic there, please. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do.
Okay.
Still do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pippin. Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and please confirm if you've received the background recommendation reports from the planning department and you agree with its conditions. Yes.
John Pippin again. You'll see me again for the next one. Busy day. So thank you for your continued patience and diligence on these matters. So assisting Matthew Dietrich and his family with their special permit application on this property. They've been running it there for quite a while. We appreciate the work of the planning department, department staff on the presentation again. We have reviewed the proposed conditions. We do agree with them. The only new development that's being proposed, conversion of an existing room into a bedroom and a new bathhouse and septic system to accommodate. This use has been ongoing for some time and has been a really strong supporter of small business in the community, as evidenced by the supportive testimony. We consider it to be a very appropriate use of such a unique and small and narrow property that has very little in the way of actual agricultural potential. It provides a unique alternative to visitors for very cost-conscious accommodations in these small cabanas that have no electric, no plumbing, very basic accommodations. And we think that's lacking out there. There's a placeholder in the zoning code for camping, and there really aren't any instances of that having been accomplished through special permit or appropriate options for camping. So we think this kind of fills that need. And Matthew, if you'd like to say a few words, please.
Yes, Matthew Dietrich. I actually reside in the Kalapana area, and I'm representing my whole family. My mom, Jane Dietrich, who is currently residing on the property, and then my dad, Steve Dietrich, who resides on the property less than half of the year. And they're also here in the audience today. If you have any specific questions I can't answer, but we're all here today. We started this over a decade ago, 12 years ago, in fact, because we've had the property for many years before that, and we felt it was important for there to be options for people visiting East Hawaii that were not only cost conscious, but also kind of more of a green accommodation is what we were really going for. Our property is entirely off-grid and runs on solar power. And when we started doing this, that was incredibly unique and unusual for people to experience. And at this point, I would say we are an established member of our community there, and we wish to remain. So that's why we're here today.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant or the applicant's representative?
I'm just
Vice
curious,
Chair, go ahead.
how wide is that lot?
About 75 feet. Yeah, pretty narrow.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Oh,
Question,
Commissioner Deleuze.
I guess I'm a little confused. So, the request is the special permit. So you're using the existing dwelling, right? So that was already
Yeah,
approved for a bed and breakfast?
No, the existing dwelling was registered as a short-term vacation rental by a non-conforming use certificate when that was available. And since the intent is to have an on-site operator, it cannot be an STVR anymore. That is defined as not having an on-site operator. So the request is to turn it into a bed and breakfast from an STVR. And that bed and breakfast operator will also assist with management of the entire property and the campgrounds.
So you're making it an assisted SDR, that someone's on site.
Yes,
That's
a bed and
managing, that's
breakfast.
managing,
Yeah,
managing it, okay?
yeah, bed and breakfast and
And
a
then adding
campground.
on the campground.
Yeah.
And he mentioned something about a, bathroom too, right? You're
Yes,
gonna add a
a
bathroom
new
for the
bathhouse to
for the
serve the
bathhouse.
campgrounds.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, just to check, is there any more testimony? Is there any testimony on this agenda item? Tracy, is there anybody on Zoom?
There are no testifiers on Zoom, Chair.
Okay,
There is someone here who came to testify.
okay, if you could please come up. I'll swear you in. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter, not before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do.
Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and you have 3 minutes.
Richard Bugado. I live at 28-1422 Old Mamalo Highway, right across the bed and breakfast. I see a lot of people that come to his home, that bed and breakfast, and they enjoy themselves. They come, I talk to them, and they're all excited because they really see what Hawaii is like. Not in the city, they come over there and they go to the river, check things out. And a lot of them walk down to Honolulu. They go over there shopping, buy different things. These people that come there, I prefer it that way. It's people from outside enjoying the islands. They really pass the word out, come over here, enjoy. To me, they're enjoying the natural Hawaii, not the city life. And as you know, he'll be becoming a city life. And out there, it's country-like. And you, in such a short span, when they walk from where this bed and breakfast is to Honolulu, you see the old days. Where I grew up, that's the highway we took. And they really see the true Hawaii. And I like the visitors coming by. They're great people. People that come there, they're great people. And there's people, everything's fine out there. I have no problem. You don't have any, it's more agriculture, like cattle across the street, walking around. They're all excited. They come from the city, see cattle. And they what's that? They're all excited, taking pictures, And that's what I like. It's a good place. I've had no problems. I've been there since 2009. And no problems at all in that area. And when they came, I saw them coming, they was doing their thing, it was fine. I'm fine with anything that's make people happy and to see the true Hawaii. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, any further questions or comments? If not, I will ask for a motion for action on the item.
Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Kush.
I move that application for a special permit docket number PL-SPP-2023 -4052 be approved based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Kush. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Perrin. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Okay, call for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylock,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Vice Chair Daniele,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 votes.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Okay, commissioners, we do have lunch. Is it here or is it coming? It's in there. Okay. We have 2 more agenda items. Shall we take a lunch break or just push through it? Push through it? Okay, push through. Okay, going on to agenda item number 8. No. Okay. Agenda item number 8, Ryan Pastoric and Paul Pastoric, PL-SMA-2024-000055. Application for a special management area use permit to consolidate and re-subdivide 2 subject parcels totaling 10.45 acres within the special management area and to construct 1 single-family residence and related improvements on each parcel. The subject properties are located approximately 1.25 miles south of the intersection of Old Government Road and Maku'u Drive on the Makai side, portion of Maku'u and Keonepoko Nui, Puna, Hawaii, TMK 31-5-010, parcels number 26 and parcels number 27. We'll proceed with a presentation by Alex Roy.
Hello, good afternoon. Today we are reviewing special management area use permit application SMA 24-55 for Ryan Pastoric and Paul Pastoric, father and son. This is on 2 separate parcels in the Puna district on island. Location maps, we can see that the property in the red star is between Hawaiian Beaches and Hawaiian Paradise Park. There's a small subdivision along the shore there, Makai, of Government Beach Road. The applicant is requesting first to consolidate and re-subdivide the subject parcels. So parcel 26 and 27 will be lot A and B. So I'll be referencing those. So just take note. On Lot A, the proposal is to construct a 3,980 square foot single family residence with 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, kitchen, living, dining room, lanai, and 2 outdoor showers. Also included is a 725 square foot garage, a 300 square foot storage / animal shelter, fencing, and related development for both farming, agricultural uses, and residential uses. Lot B is to construct a 4,060 square foot single family residence with 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, kitchen, living, dining room, lanai, 1 outdoor shower, a hot tub, pool, and a deck. Also included is a 940 square foot art studio, a 3,591 square foot aquaculture pond, fencing, and related development for both agricultural and residential uses. Just for reference, the aquaculture pond will be for tilapia and taro. Potable water will be via an improved well and pump for each parcel. So each parcel will have a separate well and pump system. Additionally, wastewater will be handled by an improved DOH approved individual wastewater system. Again, for each parcel, we'll have a separate system. There will be no connection of the systems across the property boundaries. The proposed residential structures will be located approximately 130 feet Mauka of the certified shoreline, which was done in April 14th of 2021. Additional work includes landscaping on each parcel, separate driveways for access to each parcel from Government Beach Road, and access gates again for each parcel. The property is entirely within the State Land Use Conservation District. So approval from the Board of Land and Natural Resources is required prior to development. They're going to have to get a conservation district use permit. Typically, the Board of Land and Natural Resources would like to see the SMA approval first to make sure the county's okay with it before they proceed with the state permit. So that's where we're at. The applicants did, in preparation for this, complete a final environmental assessment, which you guys, that's why the packet was so large. There was a cultural impact assessment. They did archaeology, and then they did also a coastal erosion study, which is very helpful, and you'll see why. Okay, so first we'll start with the subdivision. You can see I have Lot A, which is the old parcel 26. And then lot B, which is 27. The red dashed line is the old property boundary. And so the new property boundary will be here. And part of the reason is that a good majority of this parcel here is forested, and they really wanted to leave that alone and not have to clear cut a bunch of forest. So they're just moving it over to allow for development on both parcels without having to do extensive clearing. So the planning department, of course, is supportive of that. County zoning along the shoreline here. So Mackay of Government Beach Road is agricultural 1 acre. And then Malka is agricultural 5 acres. So it's all agriculture. State land use, as you can see, everything on the Mackay side of Government Beach Road is within the State Land Use Conservation District. So it's beholden to those. The county doesn't really have zoning authority, but because it's SMA, we do get to review that. And so the impacts to the SMA are kind of what we're looking at here today. The approval to the land use comes actually from the Board of Land and Natural Resources. Of course, Malka of Government Beach Road is all within State Land Use Ag District. LUPEG, or the general plan map, shows this entire area again as open, which is common. And then we have extensive agriculture, EA, Malka of Government Beach Road. So here's a shot of both of the properties. So this is the entire project area, both parcels. And you can see how heavy the erosion is along this area. There are large embayments. There's these tombolos. There are detached or C-stacks. There are some arches. So there's a lot going on there. So due to that, the landowners thankfully did a good job at getting an erosion study for the shoreline. And that's why the setback was like 62 feet. That's based on their erosion study. So the minimum shoreline setback, of course, the shoreline has been certified is 40 feet, but based on the study they held back, the shoreline was kind of set at 62 feet, the setback, but then they went even further. Obviously noting that this is a heavily eroded shoreline. And also take note, you can see that large stand of trees I was talking about, which encompassed a majority of that parcel. So by moving the property line over, it eliminates them having to do clear cutting. So just real quick, this is from the application, so you may have seen this. So here's that old property line, and you can see the property, parcel 27, and then the new property line approximately here with the parcel 26, so A and B, just to kind of give you some more reference, and then a little closer up shot of that eroding shoreline you can see. This is the project site, so predominantly cleared with grasses. It's undulates slightly, and there is a remnant of an old cinder cone that's right at the shoreline that's kind of partially eroded away. But it's relatively flat in this area, and like I said, with little vegetation. So this is the view towards Government Beach Road, which is right here, kind of in the top part of the picture. And then you see a car that's coming up the driveway. That's an existing driveway that comes into the property. So just as I like to do, provide you with the shoreline certification map so you can see how it kind of undulates back and forth, taking into account these heavily eroded areas. So the setback was from that boundary, and the shoreline setback, of course, 40, but they've held back much further than that. And just this is the old property line. Here's a site plan. In the red dash, I put the 65.2 foot setback that was calculated from the erosion study. And so we have lot A, and then B, and you can see the development. Here we have the main dwelling. Here we have the main dwelling and pool. There's the art studio. And then take note, outline in blue is the aquaculture pond. I'd like to mention that they will be, and we put a condition in there that they will be getting an approved pond management plan There was some information in in the application, which was good. There was some concern in the past, and they seem to work out any issues. So the county is okay with having that as long as they get the approved management plan, which will be part of the state's application process. Landscaping, the rock walls are existing, so there'll be some gates. And again, these are all identified land uses in the conservation district. And you can see some paddock here outlined with the storage and agriculture. And then they're just going to kind of leave the trees in this area. There's a lot to the plans, so I just kind of, in the packet, so I'll just kind of give you the floor plans just to kind of show. So here's the main dwelling with the garage, lot A. And then, as I like to do, the profile of the structure of the development. You can see it kind of fits with the land sloping down. So view plane impacts, while not really an issue from Government Beach Road, won't really be heavily impacted. Here's floor plan for lot B, so we can see the main dwelling and then the pool. Here's the open deck, the pool deck. And then here's the profile for lot B, a little taller, but smaller profile in this area. So you can see the second story is only a small portion of the structure. Access to Government Beach Road is from Laku'u Drive, and Government Beach Road is really unimproved dirt road. Unfortunately, on my site, when I went out there to do the site visits, I forgot to take a picture, but as you can imagine, this is pretty much what it looks like, and entrance will be right off of that. But this will be the way that they would come in is through Maka'u Drive and then turn onto Government Beach Road, and then it's down. This is kind of looking south. So at this time, the director is recommending approval with the stated conditions of PL SMA 2024-000055. And I can take questions.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, if I could ask the applicant or the applicant's representative, please come up. Okay, if I could swear you in, please. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter, now before the Windward Planning Commission?
I do.
Okay, please, yeah.
I still do.
And you can state your name, the area you reside in, and could you confirm if you received the background and recommendation reports from the planning department, and do you agree with their proposed conditions?
Yes, thanks again. John Pippin, Land Planning Hawaii, assisting Ryan Pastorek and his parents with their application for the proposed development. I reside outside Honoka'a. Mr. Pastorek here resides in LA currently, but plans to relocate to the subject property when the development is complete. We have received and reviewed the background recommendation reports, the proposed conditions. We appreciate the work that's gone into them, and we agree with them. A lot of groundwork, a lot of legwork studies have been done to bring this application to this point. That's why you had a very thick background report. There were some concerns from neighbors brought up in the environmental assessment process about the proposed landscaping plans. And we worked with them to reduce the landscaping plans considerably by more than half to mitigate for effects on sea breezes and effects on their scenic views from their properties. So we've done the hard work bringing this to this point, and we just really respectfully request your favorable your permit for the SMA so that we can go on to the BLNR and get the CDUA approved.
Thank you. Any comments, sir?
Just, my name is Ryan Pastorek. I'm very excited to be in front of the board here. I'm very excited to move here full time, and as of right now, I've been working on this project for a couple of years and coming out as often as I possibly can. I love it here and can't wait to be a productive and productive member of the community and contribute. So, thank you.
And Mr. Pastorek's neighbors, the Woods, are here to provide testimony as well.
Yes, I have Susan Wood here.
Yes,
Yeah.
when the time's appropriate.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so if there's no other questions for the applicants right now, I'll take the testimony and then we can get back to you. So if Susan Wood could please come up. If I could swear you in, please. You raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter, not before the Windward Planning Commission. Okay, please state your name, the area you reside in, and you have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Susan Wood, and the area that I live is on Beach Road. And I sent you a glowing letter. I'm sure hopefully all of you got it. We sent it to the wrong place, but I cannot imagine someone, we've lived there for 22 years and we've seen people come and go and buy twice and leave. And I have never seen the commitment that Ryan Pastorek has in ecology and everything, you know, how much he loves that land and respects the INA. And I'm so thankful if he will build and be my neighbor, because he's already helped the community tremendously. I won't go into it. It's in my letter. You can read it. It's amazing. All the things that he's already helped us with. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anybody have any questions for the testifier? Okay, I'll bring back the applicant. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, then we will ask for a motion for action on this agenda item.
Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Kush.
I move that the application for special management area SMA use permit docket number PL-SMA-2024-4055 be approved based on the planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Kush for a favorable recommendation or for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none. Okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Kush,
Aye.
Commissioner Daniele,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Commissioner Duluth,
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin,
Aye.
and Chair Lynn.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we are down to our last agenda item here, and this is Planning Director initiated Thomas Winiger and Susan Furchgott. PL-PDI-2024-000005. The Planning Director has initiated the repeal of change of zone ordinance number 12-132 and amendment to section 25-8-33, City of Hilo Zone Map, Chapter 25, Article 8 of the Hawaii County Code 1983, 2016 edition as amended by reverting the current zoning of the subject property from multiple family residential 3,000 square feet RM3 to its original single family residential 10,000 square feet RS10 zoning district for approximately 0.9793 acres of land. The subject parcel is located at 1623 Kino'ole Street, approximately 0.2 miles south of its intersection with West Kavili Street, Waikea, South Hilo, Hawaii, TMK 2-2-038, parcel number 17. Okay, if I could have Jessica. Please
Thank
do
you,
the
Chair.
presentation.
Yes, this is a planning director initiated action for Thomas Weiniger and Susan Furchgott. The subject property you can see is shown with a red dot. It is located on that would be kind of Makai of Kino'ole Street near the center of Hilo Town. It's in the South Hilo district. And the planning director is requesting a repeal of ordinance number 12-132 in response to a written request from the property owners, Thomas Weiniger and Susan Furchgood. The repeal would revert the zoning of 0.9793 acres of land to its original designation of single-family residential, 10,000 square foot or RS10, from the current multiple family residential 3,000 square foot or RM3 zoning designation. The subject property was rezoned from RS10 to RM3 with the objective of constructing a multi-family student housing complex. However, according to the landowners, the project was unsuccessful due to construction costs being higher than anticipated, including installation of a costly wastewater treatment system. Although no administrative time extension was issued, even with this option, compliance with condition B, the time to complete construction, would have lapsed on October 25th, 2022. So to orient you here, the subject property is outlined in red, and you can see that it is currently zoned RM3, which is multifamily 3,000. And it's along Kinoole Street. And most of the surrounding properties are zoned RS10, which is shown in the light yellow. There are a variety of other zoning designations. There in the pink, you see neighborhood commercial. The darker brown at the top of the slide is multifamily. And RCX is residential commercial mixed. RM is another multifamily. And to the bottom of the slide, you can see that there is also double family residential, which would be like duplexes. The entire area is designated urban by the state land use boundary map. And most of the area is designated medium density urban, which is the darker kind of mustard color. To the left of the slide, you see there's low density urban designation, and just to the top of the slide is some high density shown in the red. On the left, or excuse me, let me back up. On the right side of the slide, there is a zoomed out view, and you can see that the subject property is outlined in red. And again, you see Kinoole Street provides access to the subject property. Most of the area existing uses are residential, single family, some multifamily. And to the left of that zoomed out slide, you can see the playfields of Waikea High School on the left side of that image. And on the upper left is the zoomed in image of the property, and you can see Kinoole Street here. The subject property is accessed currently by a driveway that is here on the lower right corner of the slide there. This is the view of Kinoole Street looking north on the left there and looking south on the right. And I'll point out that the subject property is vegetated with existing trees. And you can see the access driveway is on the right-hand side of this slide, and there's an existing guardrail since there is a drop-off from the Kinoole Street to the property that necessitates that guardrail. And views of the subject property, again, showing the existing driveway, the asphalt pad that was created here, and the subject property shown here, and you can see that it's undeveloped. And with that, the planning director's recommendation is a favorable recommendation for this zoning reversion. And I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from commissioners? Okay, if not, if we could ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to please come up. Okay, please raise your right hand. and press the button right on front to turn on the mic. So one with the face, yeah, there you go. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you for your patience today. Let's see. Please state your name, the area you reside in, and have you received the background recommendation reports from the planning department? And do you agree with what they provided?
Yes, I'm Susan Furstad, living at 1555 Wailuku Drive in Hilo. And yes, we did receive the materials.
Okay,
I'm Thomas Weiniger. We received materials.
okay, thank you. Do you have anything that you wanted to share with the commission?
Not really.
You guys agree with the recommendation to revert back?
We do.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Is there any testifiers on this agenda item? No, anybody on Zoom? Tracy?
Thank you, Chair. There are no Zoom testifiers.
Okay. Okay, if not, any questions, commissioners? So for full disclosure, my parents' house is 3 parcels away. So we were always interested in what you guys were gonna do with that parcel. So what are you guys gonna do with it now that it's back to single family? Just build a house on it?
We're not really sure yet what we'll do.
Okay, just curious. Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, motion for action.
I move that the application for special management area use permit docket number PL-SMA-2024-000. Whoops, Oop, I'm on the wrong one, sorry.
Back on the page.
Okay, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, I move that favorable recommendation for PL-PBI-2024-0000005 be forwarded to the county council on the application of repeal change of zone ordinance number 12-132 based on planning director's recommendation, which shall be adopted.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Chair Daniele. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Perrin. Any discussion on the motion? I forgot to ask Planning Director, do you have anything to say on this?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, every so often we find ourselves receiving a request from applicants that had, come in, worked very hard diligently to be able to rezone their property with a dream in mind. In this particular case, it was a multiple family student housing project. Unfortunately, with what we've seen happen with the economy, the cost of construction, the cost of materials, cost of labor, we've seen a lot of dreams be put on the side. That doesn't mean that they can't still move forward. This is a larger residential property. It would allow for subdivision. It could create several lots, residential lots. So there still is the ability to do a good project here. I know the challenge is that they had met that topography was a little rough. The wastewater treatment facility was a tough hurdle, and again, the overall cost of the project. But we're in support of bringing forth revocation, and we'll move it forward to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments comments or discussion on the motion? Okay, if not, roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Daniele, or sorry, Vice Chair Daniele.
Aye.
Commissioner Perrin.
Aye.
Commissioner Bedla.
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze.
Aye.
Commissioner Kush.
Aye.
And Chair Lynn.
Aye.
The motion passes with 6 votes.
Okay, thank you. You'll be notified in writing of our decision. Okay, with that, we are done with our agenda items and we are moving to the planning director's report. The report on special management area determinations and minor permits issued by the planning director for the months February, March, April, and May of this year were distributed via email. Commissioners, do you have any questions on that report? Okay, if not, staff, I believe we have our next meeting on July 1st.
That is correct. And you have 3 items on the agenda. We're also looking at providing training to the commission on that day after your 3 items.
Okay, what is the training on?
This would be on Robert's rules.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one other announcement.
Go ahead.
So the Black Sands at Punaloo, I'm sorry, Black Sand Beach LLC at Punaloo SMA application is scheduled for mediation the week of July 15th. So I just wanted to give you that update.
Thank you. Okay. With anybody have any other announcements? If not, as it stated before, the Windward Planning Commission's next regular meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 1st, here in the County Council chambers in Hilo, and the public can testify via Zoom as well as in person. The date and venue are subject to change. I don't have any other announcements. So if not, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
A motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Kush. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Perrin. All in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned at 12:30.
That concludes our Windward Planning Commission meeting. The closed captions transcript will be terminated shortly, and those who wish to save the transcript should do so now. Thank you.